I'm joined by the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Jim Jordan. We'll get on to the preamble here, Congressman, in a minute, but some other things going on. The Trump administration has removed the name of USAID from its headquarters. Marco Rubio has said 296 of the 14,000 USAID employees will be fired, and the remaining operations will be processed under the State Department umbrella. But is what's stopping a future corrupt regime like we just saw from Joe Biden from soaking the taxpayers and growing government beyond the consent of the governed again? Congressman Stubbe has introduced a bill to kill USAID, that agency, permanently. Can this and the killing of other corrupt government agencies be rolled into that reconciliation bill, seeing how it's all budget related?
It potentially, but it's probably a little difficult with the Byrd rule. They got these Senate rules we got to deal with. But yeah, I mean, there's several agencies. I mean, we've long championed getting rid of the Department of Education. Some bureaucrat here. By the way, great monologue. It's not the unelected people in the bureaucracy, the experts. It's not the Dr. Fauci's who run our government. It's the people who put their name on a ballot, go out and talk to we the people, and then get elected. And of course, the one who heads the executive branch is the one who got elected with 77 million people voting him. So great monologue. That's the difference between today's left and conservatives and the Republican Party. We know it's the elected officials who are supposed to make the decision. But to specifically Department of Education, yeah, let's get rid of that, for goodness sake. But some bureaucrat who's been working remotely for the last 4 years is trying to tell, spending money on stupid things, telling teachers in the classroom to do all kinds of crazy stuff, making life difficult for the teacher. I would much rather give the money and the power and authority to local schools, local school boards, local principals, and most importantly, the teacher in the classroom who at least knows the kid's name. Some bureaucrat working remotely here in D.C. for the Department of Education doesn't know the first thing about that student. So, yeah, let's get it back to where it's supposed to be at the local level.
On that reconciliation bill, is it going to be one bill or two bills, and how much overspending will the House cut? Will we at least roll back to pre-China virus levels?
Let's hope so. But I don't care if it's one or two or 100. I mean, to me, and it's about doing what we told the voters we were going to do. Now, I support the speaker and the strategy of focusing on one. But the real question is, to your point, how much savings are we going to achieve? That, to me, is the question that's being debated amongst House Republican Budget Committee members. They want to make sure we're achieving some savings in this environment of ridiculous spending after the Biden administration, in an environment with a $36 trillion debt. They want to achieve some real savings while we make sure taxes don't go up on the families we represent, while we make sure we get the resources to the Trump administration to secure our border, and when our defense industry has what it needs, our military has what it needs, and we actually free up the policies that allow energy to be developed right here in our great country, the great resources we have. So that's the bill we're trying to put together. But if it takes two bills, fine. If it takes one bill, great. I just want to get done what we need to get done.
Well, speaking of the efforts to reduce government's massive overspending, the leftists are livid over the audits of the federal government and the efforts to reduce the size and scope of the federal establishment. Listen to Maxine Waters defend one of the agencies Democrats use to shut down businesses they don't like, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Watch.
Yeah. Why does Elon Musk want to get rid of all of this? Because he's a thief. He's a gangster. This is our country, and we're not going to let Elon Musk have it. He can't have it. So, Elon, come here and face us. Bring your ass on over here.
Okay, the bloated government is the main tool that Ms. Waters and other apparatchiks like her use to harm and control our people.
Yeah.
They really don't want to give up any of their power, do they?
No, and I mean, think about this. Their position is, instead of stopping the stupid spending, we're going to attack the guy who exposed the stupid spending. I mean, that makes no sense. Most Americans think like, wait a minute. We were spending money, take USAID. We were spending money on some transgender comic in Ireland. We were spending money on putting Sesame Street on TV in Iraq. I mean, most Americans think like, well, really? I think instead of having Bert and Ernie and Big Bird on TV in Baghdad, maybe we should do something different with Americans' tax dollars. And Elon Musk points that out. And so what do? They go after the guy who is just bringing out common sense things that we should do and not spend money in these ridiculous ways. So they can keep doing it. I think most Americans think, I kind of like what Elon Musk is doing. And I certainly do.
Yeah.
And I think his team, by the way, the president's the head of the executive branch. His team are every bit as much federal employees as the experts at the Treasury Department or USAID or the Department of Education, every bit as much. And the president told us he was going to do this, and the American people voted for it. Now that it's happening, oh, it's terrible. Give me a break. Most Americans see this as just good common sense and a reform that's frankly been needed for a while.
Yeah, reining in that judiciary may not be a bad idea by you folks in the elected class. Meantime, the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and border czar Tom Homan, they have accused the FBI of leaking plans of large-scale illegal immigration raids in Los Angeles and in Colorado. These raids are targeting some of the most violent illegal aliens in the United States that Joe Biden allowed to come in. They've identified at least one of the people responsible for these leaks. What do you make of my prescription for a government employee who would choose illegal alien gangs over the safety of American citizens? Firing, jail time, stripping of pension, and a lifetime ban on government service. Isn't that the least Congress can do for the American people?
If you're tipping off criminals that law enforcement is coming, that's criminal. And it seems to me the Justice Department's going to take a look at this. And if that's actually going on, then I would expect them to look to prosecute individuals who are engaged in that kind of behavior, because it's wrong. And we all know it's wrong. You can't do that. And for these mayors who are out there threatening and governors who are saying, oh, we're going to protect the sanctuary city, we're not going to work. Well, that's getting kind of close to what you just described, too. So we'll see. Again, I leave that up to the smart lawyers at the Justice Department and the leadership, Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche, Kash Patel, all good people who are going to run our Justice Department.
Right.
I'll leave it up to them to decide. But it certainly, I think, raises the question about looking into, if you're doing that, protecting these sanctuary city stuff, and then even more specific to your question, you're tipping off bad guys, criminals about law enforcement is coming, that's certainly a problem.
Well, Congressman, is there anything that would stop, I don't know, Congress from making a law saying if you're a government employee and you undertake this type of leaking and you place human lives at risk, here is what happens to you. You get prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, you lose your pensions, you get thrown in jail, of course, then you lose your pensions, and you have a lifetime ban on ever serving in government again. What is stopping Congress for doing that for the American people?
There's nothing stopping Congress from doing that, but it may not even take a law to do that. It seems to me if the Justice Department thinks that this is going on and they have proof it's going on, they can prosecute. And if you're guilty of this kind of felony activity, which I assume this would be a felony, you're guilty of this kind of stuff, there may already be statutes in place that say, okay, your pension's in trouble. I don't know. We'd have to look at that. And if there's not, we could certainly consider legislation along those lines.
Cool. Last thing. Axios is reporting that the FBI just discovered about, 2,400 records tied to President Kennedy's assassination. That's about 14,000 pages. Never turned over to the board tasked with reviewing and disclosing these documents as ordered by the president. One person quoted in the article saying, when POTUS hears about this stonewalling, he's going to hit the roof. Don't be surprised if all these records just wind up online, end quote. Your reaction, Congressman?
Well, look, this again is transparency. I think it's why the left is so after Elon Musk, because he's bringing transparency to government. Now, we've talked about a lot of this stuff before. Citizens Against Government Waste. We had them testify last week in the Oversight Committee. They've been putting out their Piglet book where all the pork barrel spending, all the stupid spending. So we've been talking about it, but there's never been this kind of intense focus from an agency like DOGE to highlight it. And then this issue with the Kennedy assassination, if again, let this government's we the people. It's about we the people. So let us have the information. Don't hide it from us, and certainly don't lie to us like Dr. Fauci did for a couple years, because everything he told us turned out to be false. Give us the truth. We're big boys and girls. And remember, it's the elected officials, it's the people who put their name on a ballot who are supposed to make the decision.